Hey folks, welcome to Detory. Today, the number of highly wealthy people in the world is increasing more than ever. The rapidly advancing technology and globalization have enabled brilliant ideas and investments to mature and profit greatly. But go back a few years, and it wasn't like that. To achieve this level of wealth in that time, you either had to come from wealth or had to have a product or an investment that was rock solid. In today's video, we will be sharing about John D. Rockefeller, an American business magnate who, although not from a wealthy family, used his sharp business intuition and investments to become the first ever billionaire in the world. Rockefeller was born on July 8, 1939, in Richford, New York, to a humble family of William Rockefeller and Eliza Davison. He was the second of his 6 siblings. John's father was a con artist who went by the name of Devil Bill. Although initially, he was a lumberman, he resorted to the life of a con artist to make extra bucks. He would pretend to be a deaf and mute peddler and sell miracle drugs called elixirs to people. Fate, however, had something big planned for John D. Rockefeller. Unlike his father, his fortune came from a different source, which was a much more ethical one regarding his father's. This source was oil. He helped found the Standard Oil Company, which paved the way for him to become one of the world's richest men and a major philanthropist. John D. Rockefeller attended college at Chancellor University before the billions came into play after his investment in a Cleveland refinery in Ohio in 1963. John was pretty much an average Joe. To shed light on Rockefeller's personal life, John was a devoted religious person and enjoyed sports. At a young age, John Rockefeller mainly had 2 ambitions: to live past the age of 100 and to make $100,000. In September 1855, a Cleveland merchant company, Hewitt and Tuttle, hired the teenage Rockefeller as an assistant bookkeeper. His responsibilities mainly included calculating costs of transportation and negotiating with freight staff, which he greatly enjoyed. And lucky for him, this job gave him the confidence and the skills he would require in his future endeavors. For years he would celebrate this day as his birthday, as this was his entrance into the corporate world. As a matter of fact, he would treat that as more important than his birthday. At his first job, he earned $50 per day. With the money he saved from his first job and a loan from his con artist father, Rockefeller started his first business, which was a commodities brokerage, in 1859. At the same time, the oil industry was booming due to technological advancements and increasing demand for refined oil. During this time, coal was usually used for combustion, but since the extraction purpose was grueling and the cost was high, its applications could not be widespread. This gave him an excellent opportunity to enter the oil market. With a sharp business intuition, Rockefeller decided to join the oil business in 1870. With his brother William and a few other business partners, he founded a company named the Standard Oil Company of Ohio. The company was responsible for oil refining and was highly profitable due to lower costs than oil exploration and drilling. Similarly, while the other refineries would dump the remaining 40% of oil after producing kerosene, Rockefeller would rely on his research and development team to remove impurities from the oil, which everyone else would waste, and make products such as petroleum jelly, wax, and more with it. This brilliant idea eventually allowed him to reduce waste and cash in on it greatly. Rockefeller did not have a high appetite for luxury, which could be seen in his lack of extravagant possessions, and rather conferred to giving away his wealth for the sake of a better world. On the other hand, business was booming and raking in big money. Rockefeller successfully created a sort of monopoly in the oil industry by buying rival refineries. He also developed companies to distribute and sell its products around the globe. In 1882, several of these companies were incorporated into the Standard Oil Trust, which would soon control almost 90% of the nation's refineries and pipelines. At that time, he had over 1/3 of the certificates. To further achieve economies of scale, Standard Oil Trust did everything, including building its own oil barrels to employing scientists to discover new uses for petroleum byproducts. However, all his success came with equal repercussions. Because of his huge wealth and success made him a target of evil journalists and dangerous politicians. Many people started viewing him as a symbol of corporate greed and criticized the methods he had created to build his billion-dollar empire. In 1890, the U.S. Congress passed the Sherman Antitrust Act, the first federal legislation outlawing trusts and crosses that made trade difficult. After 2 years, the Ohio Supreme Court disbanded the Standard Oil Trust. However, the corporations within the trust shortly after became part of Standard Oil of New Jersey, which acted as a holding company. In 1911, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled Standard Oil of New Jersey violated antitrust laws and forced it to dismantle, allowing it to be split into more than 34 individual companies. Rockefeller retired from the day-to-day business operations of Standard Oil in the mid-1890s. Rockefeller was a very successful man, which owes to multiple business partnerships and, ultimately, his entry into the oil business. Rockefeller garnered both admirers and critics throughout his lifetime and much after his death. Wall Street often idolized his money-making abilities. Some called his tactics and practices unethical, but his charitable causes overshadowed them as he created a legacy of generosity. After retiring from Standard Oil in 1897, Rockefeller committed to philanthropy and donated more than $500 million to science, educational programs, and religious causes. However, Rockefeller started giving charity with his first job as a clerk at age 16 by giving 6% of his earnings. By the age of 20, his charity surpassed over 10% of his earnings and income. Now that he had more, he gave away more. He founded Rockefeller's General Education Board to promote education across the country and the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research in New York. This was later renamed New York University in 1965. In 1913, he endowed the Rockefeller Foundation with the ambitious goal to promote the well-being of mankind throughout the world. The foundation contributed to achievements such as developing a yellow fever vaccine and successfully eradicating hookworm disease in the United States. He championed the cause of public sanitation, created schools of public health at Johns Hopkins and Harvard, and helped lead major international public health efforts against hookworm, malaria, yellow fever, and other disorders. Furthermore, he funded the establishment of the University of Chicago and funded the establishment of Central Philippine University in the Philippines. John D. Rockefeller passed away on May 23, 1937, at the age of 97 due to a disease called arteriosclerosis, less than 2 months away from turning 98. However, his goal was to stay alive until he was 100 years old. He breathed his last at the Casements, his Florida home, which was located on Ormond Beach. He owned multiple residence properties, including a home in New York City. He was buried at Lakeview Cemetery in Cleveland. There are many lessons to learn from John D. Rockefeller's life. One that with hard work, a goal in mind, and a will to act on it, anything is possible. And the most important one being that if you are in a state to offer help and make the world a better place, do so, because wealth is temporary but virtue is permanent. Coming from a humble background, John Rockefeller rose to prominence and wealth with his genius and commitment. He helped contribute to a better tomorrow, and his legacy lives on. This is all for today's video. If you found this video informative, don't forget to hit the like button. Please share with us what lessons you would take from Rockefeller's life in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more amazing videos. To stay updated whenever we post a video, click on the bell icon to not miss any videos. Until next time, take care.